Alright, so we're out here, we've come out to Merry Men Cafe this afternoon in Hampton, which is quite relevant given the Hampton tees that two of us are wearing.
Sharp.
We've got Muff and Murph, Liam and Michael from Men of Words podcast. Big supporters of Mendl, so it's really good to sit down with you two and have a quick chat.
Very happy to be here. Thanks for having us, Mark.
I wanted to start off with why you decided to start the podcast.
For sure. I think it's something that we probably get asked a lot about is why we started it. And
True.
we probably have given maybe like 10 different answers along the way, but it all stems down to probably the same thing, that we went through some experiences with anxiety and all that comes with that a very similar time, and through that we had the opportunity to sit down and speak with each other quite regularly, to sort of talk through what was going on and bounce everything off each other. And a little while after that, we were both in a really good position, and we both understood, I guess, how important the conversations that we were having were for each other, and we wanted to sort of do that or provide the opportunity for other people to do the same. And then I guess we sort of caught up and had a little chat and decided on how we could maybe get the ball rolling and what sort of avenues we wanted to take it down. And
Yeah.
sort of just, yeah.
I think, I think you, like Murph, really definitely, I think championed the idea, sort of came to me with the idea of that, we've seen so much positivity out of the conversations that we've had together, and, it would be cool to sort of, to try and, box that up in a way and be able to, package it so and put it out in for more than, so it could benefit more than just us, which is which is exactly sort of what it's become, which is really cool. And then obviously I guess, for us to narrow our focus a little bit for it to be about men's mental health as well was good, because I guess that's obviously, the direct version of mental health that we had been dealing with, and also it was, and to be able to reach out to some people that are, by any measure successful in different areas, and successful males in that regard is it was a really cool thing, and I think an awesome avenue for the podcast to take. I think, yeah.
What do you reckon about each other and the conversations? Have they changed for you two, being good mates and going through the process of starting a small business together and learning all of these things about mental health? Have your conversations changed at all? Do you find you rely on each other in different ways, or is it still just exactly the same? You get back and you have a beer and everything's back to normal?
I think, we recently interviewed each other, just for and put out a couple of separate episodes. But we got to it and we were sort of realised that, we haven't actually really caught up for a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're definitely right. We sat down and realised that we probably hadn't caught up as regularly as we used to, and so it was a really good opportunity to just sit down and check in and see how we were both travelling. And
it was still a really positive thing. I don't think we got there and we were disappointed in ourselves or disappointed in each other. It was more just a good little refresher, which is what this stuff becomes. It's it's all about that checking in and being able to, just making room and making time for that sort of, to allow yourself into that headspace, open up to mates and chat about that sort of stuff.
I think the one thing maybe has been that in the past we would catch up when we were struggling, and now it's become it's normal for us now. So we might not catch up and sit down and have a coffee or a beer and just be like, okay, let's lay it out. It's more like I'm going pretty good today. It's just it feels normal to have these conversations now, which has been amazing. And
well, that's it. Yeah, it's such a positive. And it's also a big thing that a lot of professionals will say is it's you should have those conversations when it's good as well. You have those conversations while from a place of positivity as well. You don't just have to wait until you're feeling down in the dumps to have those chats. So
What do you reckon about the importance of listening? And the role of someone that maybe has a mate who comes to them, and maybe it's the first time. You're obviously listening to people every day through the podcast. But what are some of the things that are important when you're the one that's probably receiving the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, listening is a skill, and it's a learned skill, and you're never going to be the best at it. And it's something that we've worked a lot on, and we sit down often to make sure that we realise we need to be listening to the people we're speaking to rather than question. And I think that's been one thing for us, is that when you're on the receiving end, it can be a shock, because the people we're speaking to are, you know, talking about the hardest thing they've gone through in their life, career, personal, whatever it is, and for us to actually stop and make sure we're absorbing that information and understanding it. But when you're sitting with your mate for the first time and they're opening up to you, it's probably, I mean, I know for you, when I sat down and you spoke to me for the first time, it was quite confronting, because one part of my mind I was going, this is, you know, I'm in the exact same position, I'm feeling the exact same way, but the other part was like, oh my gosh, like I knew you were struggling, I could tell you were struggling, but I didn't realise to that extent how heavy it was at the time.
When someone's coming to you with that sort of stuff, you're sitting there in this position, like they're very vulnerable, they're opening up to you, and you sort of, you know, it's human nature to want to help, and so like you think that you have to have a solution. It's like, and I mean, you know, like no one's got the answers, right? No. So it, like I remember, like that sort of feeling, I think was probably like the trickiest thing to sort of be on the receiving end of those sort of conversations in the early days of when we were sort of chatting, because you just want to help, like, you know, you just want to help your mate out as much as you can, and you know, you hate to see people struggling and you know, not being in that good space. But yeah, to realise that just the act of listening and absorbing and like being there is so valuable. Already such a big like step in the right direction. I think that's definitely like a big, you know, that's been a big sort of realization, I guess, over the journey, which is cool.
I think it was funny for us because we were both at very similar stages of our lives, and both in long-term relationships, both sort of at crossroads with the career, and we, you know, I remember at one point I actually had to stop myself, because I was like, you know, all I want to do is help you, but I know that I need to help myself as well.
Yourself. Yeah, exactly.
And that's a big thing as well that weighs on people when you have these conversations, I think, is when you're wanting to help someone so much, you sort of forget about you. And so that's one thing, I guess, when you're listening to your mate talk, you've got to really understand that, you can't always help, but you can be there as the rebounder, or, you know, just the person to listen. Stop.
So what's the plan for the podcast from here on?
From here on, well, we just want to, I guess, it's been really humbling to hear some of the feedback we've got in terms of males and females listening, and so I think that importance of just making sure that we continue to provide an avenue for people to listen and find some similarities and find that confidence to seek help if they need, or to even just sit down and have a conversation with their friends. That's the important thing.
Well, thank you guys for coming out and having this conversation today.
Appreciate it. I want to thank you, Mark. You guys, Mendl, doing some amazing work. We're very, very proud and very humbled to be a part of it, for sure.
Can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Likewise, Mark. Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Appreciate it.